Oh, I guess we're on. Hey, everybody. I know, just as the music really started kicking in, I have to admit, it's one thing about this being, more of the news and politics and that sort of thing type of a show that, every time you start hearing those trailers, I get to that, the other side of me that does that plays a music show on Fridays, and I'm just trying to get into the groove and the music, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be talking right now. So, anyhow, where are we? We are here at 91.3 FM WBNY. You're listening to a Mike on the Mic. I am your host, Mike Peters, as always, here on this wonderful Monday for the next hour. It is the 12th of September. We are, 3 weeks into the new semester? Something like that, 2016, and... Hey, you know what I forgot to give you as a thumb drive so you can record the show. Anyhow,
yeah, you did.
In the booth, we've had a personnel change. We will, of course, always enjoy and miss Mr. Kanak, who has done so well keeping me in line and helping to produce and actually doing a lot to produce an awesome show. I gave him a break. Actually, he is an alumni here at the radio station. It's an amazing part of this radio station is, most of the clubs around here will have, our clubs and that sort of thing. The school has its own alumni association, of course, as every, college does. But this radio station has their own alumni association, which is very odd for a club. But that's because we just love radio so much that our alumni, even though they've graduated and moved on to bigger and better things, still like to come back every now and then and help out over here, and that is awesome, because obviously we get to, enjoy that experience and wisdom, that they've gained through the years and through their other endeavors. But, so Jack is still going to be part of the show. He's just going to be doing other things, and we've got a new person behind the board. So I almost said I don't know how much you wanted to talk or not. Then I remembered, well, you do want to talk too. So yeah. I'd like to introduce our new man behind the board, our new producer. Let's call him. Oh no, it's Zach.
Oh god,
it's a bit of a joke running around the station right now.
Oh my goodness.
So for the rest of the day, at least, he's going to be named Zach.
Hey, I'm Zach. At least for now. Hey, as long as I have an alias, I can say terrible things.
Sure. Just don't get my show bumped. That's all.
No.
But actually, it's Jake. He's our music director here at 91.3. He also, like me, likes music and likes to talk, too.
Oh, yeah.
And so we look forward to a new era in Mike on the Mic as we go through the semester with Jake on the board. And
hopefully it won't be the worst era. I don't want to be the worst one.
It keeps getting better. So... it's going to be tough for me, like, in 2 years. And once I've graduated, then what am I going to do? Well, you won't have graduated yet. So
no, I'll still be here.
I can still do the show for a little while, and I'll have you. We just have to make sure our schedules work out. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Today it's been awesome. Weather-wise, it's been nice and cool. Have you had a chance to get outside at all?
A little bit, not entirely. I've been busy at the radio station, but I enjoyed Music is Art 2 days ago.
Music is Art?
Yesterday, 2 days ago.
Oh, Sunday. Or excuse me, Saturday.
Yeah. And
this is how my day has been.
It was Music is Art was good. I'm glad we had that cold front come through. Because I was sick of sweating so much.
Yes.
I couldn't take it anymore. So I'm glad that the cold front came through. But it's supposed to get warmer this week a little bit.
We'll have to work on that. We need to get that weather report from Jack.
Yeah.
And because that's what he normally starts before we come on.
I gotcha.
So,
I gotcha.
But you said Music was Art was good. And
yeah.
There was also we also were working with the group at Sly Fest, which was also this weekend. I hope they had a wonderful weekend too. Seems like they had a whole weekend worth of music going on. So, and we thank them for working with us for a little bit on that. I had some great music programs with them. So it's been pretty good. But school's in, homework's in. But it's amazing. We get school started up already, but I've already have one class tomorrow is going to be scheduled to be off. And unlike last week when today was it last week? Was the holiday last week? Was it 2 weeks ago?
It was last week.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So we had a week off. We had a week of class. Then we had the Monday off. And then we have, the rest of that week. And tomorrow I have one of my classes off not because of a holiday, but because of something else that's going on tomorrow. Do you know, Mr. Zach? And now I'm going to think about it every time I said, what's going on tomorrow?
I do not. What is going on tomorrow, Mike?
Tomorrow is primary day.
Oh, I did know that. I did know that.
Now, a lot of people are going to be like, primary day. No. Mike on a Mike has finally lost it. Primary day was back a little while ago, and we were still trying to figure out who was. No. That was the national, who's running for president primary day. Now we bring things a little bit more local, which is why you don't see quite as many ads because it is local. You probably see a lot of signs on people's yards, and they don't have anything to do with presidential elections. They are more for and again, this is not the elections yet, but this is the primaries for a lot of the local positions. Now, the reason why this becomes important is because, hey, we have a guest today who's been patiently sitting off in the corner.
Hello.
And now this is Anthony Baney. And I've actually worked with him enough that I don't have to write his name down as I'm talking with him because, unfortunately, many of my other guests, because I have no memory sometimes when it comes to the names. But if you've been a long time listener, first time caller, no. If you've listened to the show enough, you've probably heard him at least once or twice here on Mike on a Mic, and actually last year, or it wasn't around this time, it was closer to the actual election I had you on, I do believe. Because you were running for a similar spot, weren't you?
I was running for county legislature in the 3rd district.
Right. And that's the reason why one of the reasons why he's here today. Actually, Anthony would come down for just about any number of reasons, but today we are talking about the primary that's tomorrow. What are you in the process of running for this year?
So I'll be on the Green primary for the 2016 election for Assembly in the 140 district. That's currently being held by Robin Schiminger, the Democrat.
Okay.
I say the Green primary because it's very odd, but we are having a primary. We've seen that her name is Danielle Rotolo, and she's also cross-endorsed by the Republicans, so it's an interesting scenario.
Well, I hate to say this, but as a Republican, it is not so unheard of because there's a lot of times where when I go to the polls and I'm looking down the list of people who have been, nominated from the various parties, there's a lot of times I'll see like the Republican is also the Democrats, or which, you want conspiracy theory? There you go. Are they really one party? Yes, I said it. I know. I always say I'm not the conspiracy. And actually, I say that. I'm going to say that as a joke. I'm not necessarily promoting that. It might be true. But yes, I see that a lot where you'll see what you would think would be two opposing parties looking at the same individual, but now you are running against someone else in this primary who is also on they've already got the Republican nod, and now they're looking for another line on the ballot for the Green Party nod.
Yeah, she had done the same thing last year when she was running for county clerk in
Okay.
Niagara County. So she ran as a Green. So she just switched her party affiliation, which you can change your party affiliation at any point in time.
As long as you're not actually trying to vote in their primary.
There's a deadline on where you have to register to be able to qualify for that primary. Something a lot of the Bernie supporters were quite upset about, actually.
Exactly, which is where I was, where I was commenting on with that statement that there are deadlines and there are the deadlines are different for a local primary as opposed to the national one too. So it's politics. If it isn't confusing, then it's not politics. I'm really truly believing that.
And to comment on when you were talking about Democrats being endorsed by Republicans or vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
it's generally for county court or for a justice or something along those lines where they cross-endorse along that way. It's
Right.
generally not legislator or executive positions.
True. Usually those are very hard locked as to who they're going to endorse. But still though, you'd still think that, especially when you look at the conflict that is out there, when you look at, I'm sure everyone saw the news that yesterday Secretary Clinton fainted, or I didn't see it. I haven't read too much on it. I know she fell. Did you see it at all or hear about it at all?
The report that I read said that she felt overheated and decided to leave the ceremony.
Okay, and so she felt ill in some way, shape, or form. Now, here's what happens. If that happened to you or I, and we walked out, our friends would be like, "Oh, you okay? Yeah, okay." Everyone else would be like, "Whatever, wimp." No. Somebody doesn't feel well and they step out and they're running for office. This becomes national news. Okay. Yes, there are people on the Democrat side who are real thrilled with the concept because they're also not really thrilled with her as running for office. But obviously on the political right, where you'd think I would fit, it caused an uproar because, oh my God, she didn't stand. How is this going to become? How is she going to handle the stress of being a president if she can't stand? I know I'm sounding like one of the guys who do that talking too, don't I?
Yeah.
Maybe I've heard him too much. If she can't stand for this event, how is she going to handle the stress of being president? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I see it as a non-issue. Because there's so many issues that really haven't been talked about this election that really need to come out. And it's our fault, too, because people need to pressure the media to really talk about the issues that matter. Most Americans are concerned about how they're going to put food on their table for the next, coming years. They're not concerned about the small political issues that really tend to catch traction in the media.
Right. And I agree. And that's kind of where the point was. I guess I should get to it. Is the fact that, we see how divided, people are because they're, the one side of it's really just right up there to attack. And, there's some people on the other side, but not really. But so when we come back to looking at the ballots and seeing somebody being nominated for both the Democrat and Republican parties, is kind of odd in that sense. Now, I think the really interesting thing is the fact that she is looking for the Green Party nod. In the sense that, why would it matter? But it seems like, as we recall from the last election, that the Green Party and some of these other third-party candidates or third parties that are out there, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever, are starting to gain a lot of traction. And I know he looked at me very straight. He's like, "Where are you going with this?"
Well, I just had never heard that Hillary was looking for the Greens.
No. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about with your election. I was using her as an example of how parties can be divided and totally against things.
Okay.
But with your election, why would she?
Because we have the fourth ballot line. It's honestly,
Exactly.
it's mostly just for votes. It's not like she actually agrees with anything that the Greens stand for. Mark Poloncarz tried doing the same thing last year, and we had Eric Jones step up, and Mark had stopped trying to do the write-in campaign. So it's mostly just to get that ballot access line. The higher up you're on the ballot line, the more votes you're going to get because people vote that way.
And how does it feel? How does it feel as someone who's now you've been active with the Green Party for a while? This is not like you just suddenly switched over there. You've been there. How long do you think you've been active with the Green Party?
I actually switched my voter affiliation from Democrat to Green in 2012. I had worked on a couple campaigns in 2011 for the Democrats, and I just did not like how they were running the campaigns. I didn't think that they were trying to effectively reach out and inform voters. I just felt like they were just running a campaign.
And when you started with the Green Party, you know whereabouts on the ballot you were?
You're talking about where the Green Party was in the state ballot?
Yeah.
I believe we didn't have the fourth line, and I believe that Howie Hawkins, when he ran his governor campaign, because that's where they based the state ballot line off of, is how many gubernatorial votes is received to that party. I believe he actually upped our ballot line to number 4 because he had received well over 50,000 votes, which is the requirement just to get you on the state ballot line. I believe.
And that was one of the points I was alluding to, is the fact that it was the last election, or the last governor election, that we saw this amazing number of people voting on the Green Party line, which did help them to move up. If you don't know this, where the different parties show up on the ballot is based on how people vote the previous years. Okay, and so I don't know exactly, and maybe I wonder if I can look that up. I'm sure I can. But, for the longest time, Green Party was a little bit lower on the lines. They probably were being beat out by maybe a Libertarian or Right to Life or something like that that's more closely affiliated with one of the... I know, Libertarian's not closely affiliated with either one of them. But one of the ones that might be more closely affiliated with the two big ones.
Well, I actually just found out this year when I was canvassing from one of the Green Party people in my district that Grandpa Al Lewis was actually the first Green running for governor to get the ballot access line. People might not know who he is off the top of their head, but he's actually the grandfather in the Munsters.
Yes. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, sorry. And yeah, I do recall that he was very active with that. But anyhow, we're going to take a break. We'll be back shortly here with oh God. I got all sorts of names around there, especially the nickname that you have. I was about to say, but I'm trying to be more proper because you're here running for office. Anthony Baney here with us today, and more about what he's running for and why he's running for it when we come back.
Shattered work of art.
Financial transactions an individual can make, and you want a real estate agent by your side that will negotiate in your best interest and that truly cares about you. Catherine Moore is a licensed real estate salesperson with Realty USA at the South Transit office in Lockport. She is focused and ready to serve your needs and help you understand the real estate process. Whether you're buying your first home or selling your fourth, having someone on your side ensures a seamless process from beginning to end. For more information, go online to katmoore.realtyusa.com or call her cell phone at 716-213-3169. Kat Moore, making your dreams a reality.
And now, a Bill O'Reilly moment.
I don't know what that means, to play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah. Okay, in 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
This Bill O'Reilly moment was brought to you by 91.3 FM, WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative.
91.3 WBNY.
It's all in frame. Familiar faces on my wall. This town is strange. Seasons never change. Time is up. The world doesn't stop for anyone.
And we are back here at Mike and the Mike here. It's 3:25 on this wonderful Monday. I know, wonderful and Monday. Those two words probably don't deserve to go to better. But still, question for you. Yeah, as he quickly grabs her voice. You thought you could turn that off.
What's up?
What was that song?
That was Nothing's Over by Young the Giant.
Nothing's Over by Young John. Okay, I got to listen to more of that later. I don't know what it is about that grindy bass guitar, whatever, that when you get sitting down. I just loved it, so I need to hear more of that.
Yeah, no, Young the Giant's great.
Excellent. Here we talk about news and politics and music.
News, politics, and music.
Yes.
Just a little bit of music.
Yes. Okay.
As much as you support local politics, make sure you support your local music, too.
There you go.
Definitely.
Definitely. Tune in Thursday nights at, I do believe it's 7 o'clock for the local show.
7 to 11.
There you go. Anyhow, there we go. So we were just talking about the ballot and the ballot order and how the Green Party has worked its way up and has done a wonderful job at that. So much so that people are looking to get on their ballot line, in a sense, for the elections. So. But that's and that's progress, I guess. I mean, my election card says Republican, which obviously means nothing because I can still vote. However, it just means what primary I get to attend.
Well, now that's something that we should talk about, because if they're allowed to be on whatever line they want to be, then we should have open primaries. I mean, that seems only fair to me. If they want to play strategy with the political line, then people should be able to play strategy with the political line if those are the people that they're electing to represent them.
Well, okay, I'll see your card and raise you a bit there on that one. On the same token, to me, this is when people in that party make those decisions. So you sit there as a Green Party member with other Green Party members and maybe you say, we can handle them, or no, go away. And that is strictly something within your party. You should have control of your party and no outside influence because, hey, maybe I want her on the line. That's because she's a Republican. So, yeah, obviously that's where my vote's going. Well, I'd have to find out more. I actually read up on the candidates. And I'm sure, I shouldn't say I'm sure, especially the big elections in November. I always look for the League of Women's Voters puts out a guide, a voting guide, which will give you information, and it's, as far as I can tell, it is fairly unbiased in what they put out.
Have you ever received anything from the Commission on Presidential Debates?
I have not.
Well, the League of Women Voters actually used to conduct the presidential debates, and now it's the Commission on Presidential Debates, and we're seeing as these third parties get attention that they're not even allowed to debate.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, because the Libertarian, and you'll have to help me with the name.
Yeah, Gary Johnson.
Gary That was awesome from both of you. And there's another one out there, the lady who's running.
Yeah, Dr. Jill Stein.
Jill Stein, thank you. As soon as you started saying Jill, I actually remembered it. I'm glad that both of you guys know it. I wish I should maybe know that more. But I know there's been a lot to say about her being part of the debate, or either one of them being part of the debate. Especially, I think Gary Johnson is higher in the polls or something like that. Or
yeah, I mean, it depends on how the polls are conducted. Also, I mean, the way that the national polls are conducted, they only go by landlines, and that's not necessarily fair because people under the age of 40 probably don't have a landline.
And very true. And well, I guess that's part of it because it is a lot of phone calls out, but they also don't do things like in the malls and stuff like that. I don't know. The polling process is still a bit of voodoo magic in the sense that, and actually this goes with statistics in general. Basically put, I think in statistics you come up with what you're trying to pull off, and then you adjust the numbers, or then you look at the numbers and say, this works. So, I don't know.
With any poll that you conduct, you have to look at the population that was conducted and the way that it was conducted.
Exactly.
So if we're going to sit here and admit that the polls can be skewed in a certain way, then we shouldn't use those polls to exclude people from a debate. That just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't represent democracy.
I fully back you on that one. And I guess one thing that does help is a sense that, as I'm looking here at the last governor's race in 2014, Howie Hawkins had, a full almost 5% of the vote, which, some people might think, oh my God, what's 5% of the vote? But I think having at least, if your party is garnered 1% of the vote, that you should be at least in the debates, because
and Howie Hawkins was in the debates that they conducted, including the one that was in Buffalo, where he was able to talk, with Rob Astorino and Cuomo basically calling each other names, and Howie said these are the issues that New York State cares about, and that's why he got endorsed by the local teachers union, because nobody else was standing for them.
Exactly, and I recall that, a lot of that. I can recall that stuff, but I have problems remembering people's names as they sit next to me. This is my life. I not to totally get off topic, but on the top, but we've got the sports crews that are coming up afterwards. It seemed like I was the only one who remembered the badminton scandal in the last Olympics. Not this one that just happened, but in 2012 there was a scandal. Look it up.
You're not talking about Puerto Rico, are you?
No.
Okay.
No. This was actually the teams in the Olympics. It was like I think there was a Korean team and you have to look it up. It was kind of it's kind of
I'm
funny.
more of a FIFA guy, I'll be honest.
As
much as they're a horrible organization, and I'll say that, I like World Soccer.
Yeah, we saw that all come down, but these, like I said, this is my mind. I can remember stuff like that, but anyhow. So, how do I want to phrase this one? Where do you see? I mean, let's continue to look nationally for just a moment, and because I want to go over what you're going to call your platform, and give you time for that, because, well, why not? And we have, I know my good friend Jack there has tried to reach out to some of the other parties, and nobody seems to have gotten back with us, but we always get good response from parties, like the Green Party. And so I'm happy that you're here, and I'm happy to give you the time to go over what you're going to be is your platform, because no one else wants to. So you get it. You win. You won the prize. Though there is equal opportunity if they ever call us back.
Yeah, they're running a phantom campaign.
But let's look at things nationally on how. What's some of the fallout do you think that some of these, the national elections are going to be? I mean, how is the Green Party reacting to what's going on? And obviously, the Libertarian Party rather well. Have you seen any internal? What are we looking at here?
I mean, in terms of what do we?
Well, okay, so yeah, I know. I realize that's a terrible question. As I finished saying it. When you see what's going on in the election and how everyone's reacting to the current two, okay? One, what do you think it's going to do for the votes come November for the other parties? Do you see an increase, or do you see more of the rhetoric of a vote for one is a vote, a vote against one, or a vote for a third party is a vote for the other person?
Yeah, that conversation will always happen. People will always use that argument. I do think that we will see an increase. People are upset that Bernie basically had the rigged election. The DNC was actively working against Bernie. People are upset about that. They'll probably vote Green for the presidential election. And then on the same side, people are upset about, basically how Trump is just acting. So they're more likely to vote for Gary Johnson, I would say. And I mean, that doesn't even necessarily put those people in those camps, but that's something that I would basically, how I look at it, I guess. And I mean, I think that we're going to just have a lower voter turnout in general, because people, they see the two candidates the most often, and they're sick of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's been tons of polls, and we talk about how polls can be skewed.
Right.
But, when you look at the overall population and not just outliers, you'll see that they're highly not favorable. And, I mean, even when you're going out in your neighborhoods, you don't see too many of their political signs or even that many bumper stickers. I've seen more Bernie bumper stickers than I've seen Hillary bumper stickers. Mm-hmm. And even before the primary was over, I saw more Bernie lawn signs as opposed to Hillary lawn signs. So I think people are sick of the two candidates.
Sometimes I wish that, because, God, I hate the statements. Usually after the election's done, someone will stand up and say, the people have spoken. Do you know how often everyone says this line? But yet, when you look at the polls and you look at not the polls, but the numbers, the actual how many people voted and who they voted for, and you start looking at those percentages, nowhere have the people spoken. You know what I mean? You should have to garner, I would say, at least 60% of the vote to be president. If you can't get that, then I don't feel that you're reaching the majority of the people in any way, shape, or form. None of this 45%. No.
Well, preferential voting or runoff voting might be a solution to that. So, for example, in 2014, when we had the state senate race in my district, Mark Panapinto won by less than 40% because it was a three-way race. So he didn't come anywhere near 50%.
Exactly. And then the other problem with it, too, was what was the turnout like also. So, and that's the other line, the other part of the people have spoken when at most, I think for an election, I think we've pulled off 80 at one point in time for a presidential election. Maybe that seems to be high to me. I think it's more like 60. But then for the local elections, like the ones that are held in off presidential years, you can see like 20, 30, 40% of the population in a state voting. How have the people spoken in those? Yet every year, there they are. The people have spoken. That's when I start grabbing for either, painkillers or bottles of something.
Well, it's inspirational, and that's what they're going for when they make those speeches, is to try to bring people together and, rally around the platform that they have outlined. But, not all of them implement the platform that they outlined. So
exactly.
That's why people are upset about that.
And that is something that we see, more and more. And, I wonder if part of it is due to a building of expectations. I mean, let's face it, the president can suggest, can put forth ideas and plans, but he doesn't have as much pull over what is law in the United States on local policy or, for the people as a lot of the plans that you hear about say. I mean, yes, we called the American Care Act Obamacare because he suggested, he came up with the idea.
But he didn't propose the actual legislation.
Exactly.
Like FDR, when he came into office, he actually proposed over 90 bills in the first 4 or 5 months that he was in office. He actually was trying to implement the plans that he had outlined in his campaign.
Right. And my statement though is that the president can only propose these things. It's the legislation, it's the Senate, the House that actually, make them, and then they take the proposals and they actually write their own thing from there. That's where the president's plan goes from this proposal to how many thousands of pages of that ACA come out to be?
It was over 100,000. But No Child Left Behind was over 200,000. So,
still, that's political wrangling for you. But my point is that, yes, he can make those proposals, but he can't actually enact them. And so I'm wondering if sometimes we get a little...
And a lot of the times even the legislation that's passed can't be enacted.
Yeah.
In terms of even look how much problems the ACA was having and they were setting it up on the internet.
Yes. Well, yeah, part of that.
I mean, Medicare was started off in the 70s using index cards.
This is true. It was a more successful launch. But... I wonder, though, if some of our dismay over, politics is the fact that we have people up there saying that I'm going to change this, I'm going to change this, and they don't have the power to actually change it. Whereas, if you went up there more often and saying, this is what I want to work with Congress on, and at least leave room for the fact that...
Well, that's where the media also has to step in, too,
True.
Though. I mean, because it's easy to say, I support universal health care, but what bill number do you actually support? Which bill number are you going to press forward to have either the Senate Republicans bring to the table? How are you actually going to facilitate that? Who are you going to work with to bring that to the table? So, I mean, these are discussions that necessarily don't have to happen in the media because people's retention is only so high on a lot of these issues.
What?
However, it's still up to the media to challenge these candidates, and I don't believe that they've done a good job on that.
There's one famous point where they did. There's that, and also the fact that the media also tends to use bills against people also. You know, if I put out a bill that maybe is, for one thing, but because of political wrangling, it either did not include or maybe it did not or change the language on something else. Now
these politicians have excuses for everything, so I don't see how they can't just say, well, that bill was amended before I had supported it.
It's like, well, such and such a person did not vote for veteran rights. Shame on them. And then you find out that the bill was actually on gun control. So you sit there and that's the other thing that always bothers me with politics is that one bill can't be about one issue. And, I think that would be, if you could ever, yeah, like that would never happen. But if you could ever make that kind of a change, that would be incredible. Speaking about platforms, we are going to hear what Baney's platform is going to be right after these messages. Stay tuned. Of course, we're still here with Anthony Baney, who is currently running for
the Green Party primary and the Assembly District 140.
And so now let's talk more. We've hit a lot of the national stuff and how polls and all that work. Let's talk a little bit more about you and your purpose, your goals, as we talk about we just went over what's the word I'm looking for here? Overextending what you feel is what you're able to deliver. Yeah. Let's try to avoid doing that. But let's start with this. You said you got into the party, it was about 4 years ago. What is it about the Green Party that makes you want to run for office for them?
Well, I mean, my platform is pretty simple. I have a like a 3-point platform, basically. Obviously there's other bills and issues that I support along the way, but these 3 ones that I see that are the main issues are ones that the Green Party at the state level also support in their platform. The legalization of cannabis, the fact that schools should be fully funded and public, and that every child should be given a quality education, and the fact that we should have alternative energy that benefits the community as opposed to, a few private corporate interests. So, that's basically what I'll be running on, highlighting the most. So I mean, that's basically my 3-point plan.
Now let's start digging into some of the details on this now, and I'm actually going to do this kind of in reverse order here. You talk about community usable green and renewable energy. What kind of things can you do to try to make this more of a reality?
So basically right now the state gives out tax subsidies to nuclear power. So I would take those subsidies and I would reuse them for, let's say, solar panels, geothermal energy, or I would also support for methanol gas. Now, methanol is still a carbon-emitting gas, but out of all the alcohol fuels, it is the least carbon-emitting. The only other option for fuels is hydrogen fuel, which still takes energy to split the hydrogen from the oxygen.
All right, and so we're looking at the changing in subsidies. What about on? I mean, actually, let's continue on for a moment while I think about this one a little bit more. On the education side, now you want public schools for. What do you mean by that?
So basically right now, what we see with a lot of the funding is that sometimes it goes to charter schools, and I'm not against alternative schooling. I think that homeschooling can be one of the best things a parent can do if they have the time, honestly. But I just don't agree with the fact that they're using public funds and they're not held to the same quality or to the same standard. Now, some areas of the country do well with charter schools. Other areas don't. Before we start dumping in public money and taking away from public schools, let's look at how that actually will work in our region. Okay.
Do you have any particular... Now, when we start looking at the schools themselves, there are some schools that seem to need help. Do you have any plans, or is there anything specific on schools to be able to help out as far as the public schools? I mean... And how could you go about that? And again, I'm saying how could you, in the sense that I'm not necessarily looking for the promise. I was just looking for what are the things that your office, if you are elected, is actually capable of doing for the people in your community.
So let's look at an example for Buffalo. I would look at schools that would be considered persistently failing, and if their schools have a high population of refugees or a high immigrant population, then possibly they would need more English language coordinators. That's something that would help increase the quality of education in that school. If we look at Kenton, there's a really big issue because the Huntley plant is closing on River Road, and they provided tons of local property taxes for the schools. So that plant should be converted into another industry that provides property taxes for the schools. My suggestion would be a hemp processing facility, which you could ferment into biogasoline, like I said, the methanol gas, and then that would provide enough taxes for the schools for Kenton. So that's something I look at. We just need to make sure that we keep increasing industry in a responsible way that actually benefits the community.
All right. And now the first point that you had made, and I didn't write it down. Go ahead. What was it again?
Yeah, the legalization of cannabis.
That's right.
That one's kind of simple, but not.
I didn't. For some reason, and that's the reason why, and I hate to say this, for some reason I didn't actually hear it said. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe that was intentionally blanking out, selective memory or something like that. Because I'm sitting here thinking, I don't recall hearing you say that. That's scary. But you did, and that is something that it is one of the, is it a big tenet of the Green Party?
It is. It's I believe it's in the fourth, out of the numbers in the platform for the state party, I believe that's number 4.
Okay.
Is the legalization of cannabis and hemp, which the bill that I would sponsor and push through as hard as I could, the Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act, it's Assembly Bill 3089. I would support and sponsor that right away.
And now we were talking earlier about how some things get put on some bills, and you talk about that particular bill. Is there things on that one that's your opponents could possibly use against you, even though it has nothing to do? I mean, you're looking for that small gain, and you can see some of the other things that may be on that bill is something you can work on later.
Well, I mean, I would just want to make sure that those that are under 18 don't face criminal penalties. I think that people are being prosecuted too much, and I think that we convict them for these lower crimes and that they should be rehabilitated as opposed to just being put into jail. I don't always see jail as a negative thing. Sometimes it's the only option for an individual, but I just don't want to see it as used as a way to still target youth for a very. It doesn't have much, I guess you could say, detriment to society just for having a plant matter in your pocket.
Okay, and now the jail times and stuff like that. That is also, I do believe, another party line item in itself, too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we want to make sure that they stop enforcing, I guess, broken policing is what they call them. I mean, we want to make sure that we have a more fair justice system in the sense that if we're going to keep arresting people for these lower offenses, then, I mean, we should also enforce the white-collar crime that has sometimes a worse detriment to society.
So we're looking at, and it's not to say that, selling illegal items is bad. Or isn't bad. Obviously, it's illegal for a reason. But on the same token, what we're looking at more of, is, if I'm understanding it correctly, is, if you look at someone who might be selling marijuana as opposed to a murderer, they seem to be getting the same punishment, and it's vastly different crimes.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the crime should fit. I mean, sorry, the punishment should fit the crime, as Jimmy Carter had said.
Okay. What? Now, and we're just going to take cannabis off the table here because obviously you don't feel it should be illegal. But let's just say it's illegal narcotics like the pain pills or something like that. What would be the difference? I mean, would there be jail time if you're selling that, and why? And
well, I mean, that bill doesn't deal specifically with that.
Okay.
I mean, I would like to look at other bills regarding the opiate pandemic that we have, but I still think that it should be focused more on harm reduction as opposed to stiff criminal penalties. And I think, honestly, as a society, we should look more at the economic conditions that people have that have these drug problems, because I think that has more of an effect. I think that during the Great Depression, you had increased uses of alcohol. So I just think that we should look at more of the economic conditions that a lot of these people have.
Okay. We've got just a few minutes left, so I'm going to not necessarily have a question for you. What is it that you would like to say take a few minutes, give your speech, and then we'll go over again who you're running against and that sort of thing. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tomorrow is the primary day. Make sure you go out and vote. I mean, obviously, in the Green Party, there's not that many primaries. I am the only Green primary for the Assembly in this region. So definitely get out and vote in the primary if you're a Democrat or Republican. There's a lot of important races going on, like the district attorney's race is going on. That's very important because that deals with who basically brings the prosecutions forward, and it determines how many people are arrested for what. And they work with the holding center, and they work on a wide variety of issues that affect our criminal justice system. So that's a very important race that people should be paying attention to. We need to focus more on local issues, because when we look at the federal issues, it's something that you can't always change. Like, you can sign a petition for, but when you actually can go to somebody's office, it makes a huge difference on how they're going to respond to what you are saying. And so that's why I think that really the local elections are more important for people to get involved with. And I think that we really need to work as a community on a lot of the issues, especially in the city. I think a lot of times we work on these suburban issues that are important and are definitely important, but we sometimes leave out the city and kind of just look at them as their own issues. And we're a whole county. I mean, so I think that a lot of times it's almost like a us versus them. When you see how people look at politics, like, oh, this doesn't affect me. But I mean, when you pay taxes and there's a group of citizens that continue to be jailed and they're not rehabilitated in the correct sense, then eventually you're going to have to pay for that longer in your taxes by housing them, by jailing them. So I really think that we need to come together as a community and start looking at people as humans, realizing that humans make mistakes. And we need to work past those mistakes to help really further society. That's about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for making it out here today. As always, it's always been a pleasure talking with you. I'm sure, hopefully all goes well for you, and that we'll be talking again closer to the election, and we can start talking about the differences between you and whoever you're running against, and but in a positive way. We won't do any slam. What's the word I'm looking for? Not commercials. Because we don't do commercials. Mm-hmm. Slam campaigning, negative campaign, mudslinging campaigning. So that should be great. But so thanks again for making it out.
Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem. And so you've been listening to 91.3 FM WBNY, and we are pretty much done with our show today. This fine Monday. Have nothing yet scheduled for certain next week, but I'm sure that might change. Of course, we are still working with Jack and getting great people out here, and now Zach.
Only for this week. Only for this week.
We'll be working on that too, but he'll be at the board. But he'll be known as Jacob from now on.
Oh, thank you. Yay, my own name.
Yes, and this is going to be our new show for the season. So enjoy, or semester, I should say. Season. I sound like I'm watching TV now. That's it. So everyone have a good week, and we will see you again next week here on Mike and the Mike, 91.3 FM, WBNY.